How's it going, everyone? My name is Alex, back again with my boy Jeremy and Tom, joined by Tommy Cutlets, first of his name and heir to the Iron Bone, back in the reboot of the Shrubway series. This is episode 3 of the reboot. Jeremy, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome, Alex. It's Thursday night. We got we got a great weekend of sports all around, particularly college football. But we'll put a shot to the side. But feeling pretty good.
Good,
Yeah,
good,
ready to kick this off.
awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to watch Ohio State maybe win against Tennessee. I know Jeremy is a big Michigan guy. I
Who
went to Ohio
volunteers?
State once upon a time, but I don't like Ohio State fans. Ohio State fans, give me some hate. Tommy, you can't hate a face like this. He doesn't have a lot of brain cells. Anyway, folks, as we told you in our last episode, we're going to talk some about some baseball free agency. But Jeremy, before we dive into that, I don't know. We haven't talked about this off air. So, Jeremy, let me ask you this. Um, a report came out today about the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, citing Madden ratings as a reason to not trade for a couple different players, most
Yes,
notably
I saw
Jerry
this as
Judy.
well.
So, Jeremy, um, I've got to ask,
Yep.
did you before you adopted Wally, did you ask for his dog ratings?
No, not that I can recall.
Not that
Definitely
you can
did not.
recall.
No.
Man, every time I think the Giants are the most dysfunctional franchise in New York, the Jets just one up it, and it's just something else, man. I mean, how do you guys cite a video game with notoriously bad rating system as a reason not to trade for a player? I mean, come on.
Right. I mean, when the Giants are giving the Jets, time for them to one up the Giants, they fail at doing that. They can't do it. It's impossible.
Every time, man. It's just like it's like a dog and pony show with them. I do not understand it. To use a Mike Francisism. Sorry, well at least what I say, Mike Francis. It baffles me that these morons can own a team. I mean, how do you have this much money and you say, yeah, a video game is right? I mean,
I know, right? By the way,
Jesus.
your Francesa impersonation, I did hear on the Boomer and Geo show, Geo did another Francesa impersonation. Pretty spot on.
Was it about
Talking
farting this time again,
about, it
or
was about the drones actually. Oh, they're coming from they're not
yeah?
from the government. I don't know, something else. Something about today's Amazon dropping their packages using drones.
Mike would drop a package. Jeremy, a couple other quick things to get to before we get into the baseball points we want to talk about today. The Giants allegedly called Bobby Skinner of Talking Giants and said, take down that video about firing Joe Shane, which going back to our conversation on Monday night, you may remember that we talked a little bit about whether we thought Joe Shane and Brian Dable were going to be back or not. Um, if the Giants were going to fire Joe Shane, they wouldn't care about that video. And that leads me to believe that at the bare minimum, Joe Shane is back. The fact they didn't mention Brian Dable suggests to me that Brian Dable will be fired, which would be baffling to me to let a third GM in a row fire a head coach
Yeah,
and
that's
survive that coach.
right. Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, I mean, then a total rebuild, so to speak. Then get a new GM, get a new head coach, and obviously new quarterback. Obviously, the new quarterback is already presumed. We know that's going to happen this
Yeah.
in this April.
Or if you're not gonna get rid of Shane, you don't get rid of Dable, right? I think you
Exactly right. You
keep
don't
them
keep one and not the other. It's a two-way
because
street.
why would you as a head coach want to go someplace with a GM who's on the hot seat and the GM may very well be gone in a year, and then if the GM is gone in a year, you're also gone in a year. Like it just
Right,
so either give them both year 4 or end them after year 3.
right. That's it. Yep, I agree. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, it's not like they've done a good job and Dable's going to retire or something like that. No, he's getting fired, right? He's just, yeah. Anyway, all right, Jeremy. But the main crux of what we want to get to today is talking about some baseball things, talking about some signings. Obviously, the biggest one for your Yankees being Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger is 29 years old, center fielder, bats left, throws left. Obviously came up with the Dodgers, former NL MVP back in the 2019 season. Um, Obviously a World Series champion with the Dodgers, I believe, right during that shortened 2020 season. Um, and, kind of hasn't gotten back to that MVP form. Had a couple of bad years there in 21 and 22 where he didn't get above two, what, 220 or so with his batting average. I mean,
I remember his
it
past
was
year
rough.
wasn't great. He had 18 homers and maybe like 50 RBIs, but I believe the year prior, I don't know if he played a full season, but I know he had like 26. I think last year he was a much better year 2 years ago.
I think that's right. I think 2022, sorry, 2020, yeah, 2021 was when he didn't even get above the Mendoza line. Um, so, he hit 196 in 350 plate appearances, versus last year he hit 287, so a lot better. 44 extra base hits, only 10 double plays grounded into. Um,
Yes, that's good. Not doubling up super often. We don't want guys, you know, getting doubled up each time at bat. We got to run on first, and then boom, then the bases are empty after double play, or the inning ends with a double play. So
That's right. That's right, Jeremy. And if we look at his fielding stuff, you look at his advanced metrics here. I'm currently looking on Baseball Savant. His fielding um, is better. It's always been decent. Obviously, the 2019 season being his best season. Um,
and at least, well, I just want to interject a little bit on that,
Go
Alex.
for
Talking
it.
about
Yeah.
Bellinger. I do like the fact that he can play the outfield as well as if they need him to come to play first base. He
Correct.
has played about 45 games at first base in his career.
Yep.
So let's say, I don't know, maybe the Yankees, they still might want to go after Ryan McMahon from the Rockies and they want to bring him as the full-time first baseman. I
Yep.
mean, not that's happened or, but just hear me out. If they go ahead, bring in Ryan McMahon would be the starting first baseman. He would be the everyday first baseman. But let's say, over the course of a 6 month, 162 game season, he's going to need to take days off here and there.
Correct.
And then
Yeah.
Bellinger can fill in for him at first. So
Correct. Yeah, and having
that's
Bellinger to spill him for a day or two here or there, I don't think is a bad thing at all. And looking at his outs above average, he's I would say a slight above average center fielder for most of his career. Though the last couple of years, it's been in 2023 it was only two out. His outs above average was only two, and then last year he was right at average for anywhere in the outfield he played. In first base, he I guess last year was his best year at first base, having, well, no, second best year at first base, averaging one out above average. But he's typically been a below average first baseman throughout the entirety of his career. But that's not what you're paying him for. You're paying him to play the outfield, right? So Aaron Judge doesn't need to play center field anymore, right? You get that lefty bat that you yeah, that's right. You get that lefty bat that you were talking about a week ago, right? You're that guy who has a little bit of pop, maybe not as much as he once did. Um, if you look at the law, once again, these are all baseball. It seems like all like advanced metrics now, right? But if you look at like last year he had 18 home runs, 26 the year before, 19 the year before that, so he doesn't really have as much pop as I think what you would want out of a left-handed bat for the Yankees, right? With that short porch and right. Um, his sweet spot launch angle has been pretty consistent throughout his career. Last year was just under 35%, right? His exit velocity is just under 90 miles an hour. and his
Uh,
exit velo last year was just a tick under 113.
Alex, what's even what's his on base percentage been? Because I think you know what I just want to speak a little bit more about Cody Bellinger, him in terms of the lineup that the Yankees will assemble, and I'd
Right.
like for him to bat maybe just in front of or behind Aaron Judge.
Yep.
Just thinking that he might see some better pitches, is going to be able to get himself on base,
Correct.
maybe a little bit more often than he did with the Cubs. That's
Yeah.
just what I'm thinking. I don't know.
And look, he had a good on base percentage the last 2 years, respectively in 23 and then 24 it was 356 and then 325, right? That's a good
Okay.
on base percentage there, right? But anybody's going to benefit from hitting in front of Aaron Judge. You and I would benefit from hitting in front of Aaron Judge. Now, I haven't hit a baseball, worth a damn, right? There's a reason why I went and started doing track and cross country, right? Because I was not hitting the ball well at all. I could field somewhat, but I could barely hit, right? So hit in front of Aaron Judge will at least give you more pitches to see if that's where they place him. If they put him after Judge, I don't necessarily think that's the move there, but I'd have to go through the Yankees roster and see who would probably slot where, right? Um,
Maybe like Anthony Volpe leads off and then Bellinger and then Judge. Because usually Aaron Judge is bad at third and then
yeah.
Stan.
And I know they've had Judge batting second before.
Yes, right.
I know that's it's kind of they've waffled them back and forth between second and third. So you never know. But yeah, I think Bellinger batting second and then you know sitting there in front of Judge. Now I'd be interested to know, and I wonder if there's a way to find this. If anybody watching this knows this, if you could find what Cody Bellinger's um, career averages batting second, third, wherever he has typically batted in the lineup, and versus so I assume he's batted second, I assume he's batted third, fourth, right? Probably throughout
Yeah,
that the entirety of that lineup. I'd be
yeah.
interested to know.
Oh, sorry, Alex. I think even with the Cubs, he's batted almost towards the bottom of the lineup. Like I think he's batted seventh or eighth, or even with the Dodgers, he was towards the bottom. Like I think Mike Talkman, who's still with the Cubs, usually bats ninth, and I think Bellinger is either eighth or seventh in the lineup. Um,
Gotcha.
so that's a good point to
So then I do wonder if they'll move him up to second, or if
right,
they'll keep him down towards the bottom. Because having a bat like that at the bottom of your order, who he's not an automatic out, right?
right,
Except for that 1 year, which was god awful. But that was, I think, also after he dislocated his shoulder and had a little bit of a fall off. Then, um, I do wonder if they'll keep him down the lower end of the lineup so you can try and turn that lineup over more, or if they don't feel comfortable in what's at the top of their lineup.
right. No, absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's true because then even like in the later months of the season, Austin Wells is probably he's not going to be able to hit like he did
Yep.
toward the end of the regular season. So maybe having Bellinger, bat towards the end of the lineup.
Correct.
But maybe they do try, do a sort of trial and error and see how he bats, at the top of the lineup first. I mean, I'd like to see that happen if they
Correct.
could do that.
Correct. Couple other deals that have happened as of note. So the Mets signed Griffin Canning, who is a pitcher, right-handed pitcher. Um, he is 28 years old, so about the same age as Bellinger. Um, he has
That
a
was a fun one.
career ERA of 4.78. I believe he spent the better part of these years with, if I'm not mistaken, the absolutely hated. Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought it was the Braves. It was the L.A. Angels, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, as they say.
Yeah,
Um, Unfortunately for him, last year was not a good year for him. Went 6-13, 5.19 ERA in 32 games, of which he started 31. So you got 31 games out of him, which is good. 171.2 innings pitched, 174 hits, 105 runs. 99 of those runs were allowed. Both of those are first in the AL. His total runs and earned runs. He allowed 31 home runs, which was the second worst in the entire AL, and
wow.
66 walks for sixth in the AL with only 130 strikeouts. If I'm a Mets fan, which I am. I trust that Steve Cohen and and the general.
It's,
One more time.
oh, never mind. Sorry, I thought I was gonna say David Stern. Never mind. I was saying
No, David Stearns is the right name. I'm
sorry.
trusting David Stearns and Steve
Yeah,
Cohen.
yeah.
They're gonna go big fish hunting. They're still big fish hunting, right? They're obviously still in the mix for Sasaki. I could see Corbin Burns possibly coming to the Mets. They're obviously still in the hunt for Pete, which apparently Pete's market hasn't heated up the way he hoped it would. I wonder if he's gonna hold out for a while here before he signs.
He's
If I'm a
definitely
Mets fan, though, I'm starting to get a little antsy going, okay, when's the next one going to happen? Because we saw the Yankees lose out on Soto, and then the Yankees go out and get Freed, they get Bellinger, and then the closer from Milwaukee.
Kevin Williams. Yeah, from
Now,
Milwaukee.
now, all that said, the F war for Soto is greater than those three players combined. So that's cool and all, but we know the Mets still will need at least one more, if not more, two more bats in that lineup. Um, I think bring the polar bear back. It makes sense. He's a fan favorite. You know, he's homegrown talent, but you don't want to pay him a stupid amount of money. If he's going to expect $200 million over the next 6 years, he's not making $200 million. If the contract's looking more like 160 to 180, you know, I could see that. I could also see Steve Cohen doing a really high average annual value, doing like the next 3 years for like essentially 40 million a year, which would be
Right.
a stupid amount of money. But I could see that happening because we've seen him do that already a couple times.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. I mean, I think yeah, it would be in the best interest for the Mets to bring in a power hitter like Pete Alonso in that cleanup spot. He did not have a great season this past year, but we did see the pop in his bat when it came to the postseason, particularly in that Game 3 against Milwaukee off Devin Williams to right field. So I mean,
That's right.
you got to keep him at first base. He provides stability at first. I mean he's been able to play full seasons. Like he's been you know sustainable. Like he hasn't been having to be on the shelf for that many games. So and he plays really good defense at first base. At least I think so. Um, I like Pete Alonso. I mean, I know the Yankees. There's been some rumors about the Yankees trying to go after Pete, but I don't know how realistic those are. But that has come up in conversation, as does with every single free agent out there in these winter meetings. So, but I mean, at least from the Yankees' perspective, they need a lefty bat, from
Correct.
first base spot. So I don't think Pete Alonso is going to be in play. So I personally think the Mets are going to take him again.
Yeah, I would be a little surprised if the Mets don't make a push at Pete. You know, looking at their depth chart right now, right? So you've got Francisco Alvarez starting, Mark Vientos, Jeff McNeil probably. Um,
Let's Starling Marte. We got Starling Marte.
Starling Marte will have, as of right now, they're going to have Luis De Los Santos at third base, Francisco Lindor at short. Then you have Nimmo. You could theoretically put McNeil in left and put Nimmo in center, right? It's interesting. I mean, you've got Soto, you've got Marte, right? My question as a Mets fan is, okay, who's DHing for us, right? Because Starling Marte as my DH does not inspire a lot of confidence.
What about
So
Mr. JD Martinez, or is he a free
he's a
agent?
free agent. He's a free agent. You know, perhaps Starling Marte does end up DHing for the Mets for a little while, but he's closing in on 40 at this point in time, right? He was born
Yes,
in
definitely.
88, so he's going to be entering, I believe, at 36, 37 this season, right?
Yeah.
So he's not the same kind of player he was back in the day. Obviously, Jeff McNeil shares a very, very close place in my heart because we share a birthday 3 years apart. Jeff is older than me. Happy birthday, early birthday, Jeff. Um, the Mets need another bat, right? They do need another bat, and looking at their starting rotation, I mean, uh, right now the pitcher they just signed isn't even listed as a starter for them. So I'll be interested to see where the move is there, whether it's they move him to the pen or what
Like
their plan is.
maybe Alex. Maybe they're going to bring him to the pen. And at least they're going to test Clay Holmes as a starter that they took from the Yanks. So,
Yep.
I mean, that's another starter there for you if Clay
Yeah.
Holmes pans
Yep.
out the way they hope.
That's right. Yeah, Clay Holmes right now is listed as their fourth starter. I do think we'll see the Mets sign another starter, whether it's I could see them going after Sasaki. If they don't get Sasaki, I could see them pivot hard to Burns. Similarly, I could see them saying if they don't think Sasaki's market is going to work for them, they're just going to go to Burns. Or I could see them, because once again, we know Steve Cohen. If he wants something, he's going to go get it. If Steve Cohen wants Sasaki and Burns, there's nothing stopping him from doing that. As we've discussed, the Mets, I believe, still have about 105 million in. I say dead cap. Right? We don't have a cap, but they have 105 million away from what they spent last year. Do I think Steve Cohen wants to spend $315 million every year? No. Do I think he doesn't mind doing it? Yes. Because I remember when
That's for sure.
he bought the team, he was like rumored to have $14 billion. I think I saw a number recently where he's like at $22 billion. So that man is not hurting for money. In fact,
No.
he's able to write all these expenses off as losses in his taxes. So he probably was like, I'm okay spending this money because I'm going to get it back. But that's a whole other issue when I talk about the United States tax system.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't maybe know about Corbin Burns quite that well, I mean, he's an all-star. He started in the all-star game this past year. I believe he pitched the first 2 innings. So he's no schlub. I mean, this guy
That's right.
is good, got good stuff. His
Yep.
ERA was about 2.5 this
That's
year.
right.
So
Yeah, if you've been sleeping under a rock for the last few years, Corbin Burns is he's a pretty okay pitcher, right?
right, yeah,
Before that, he was obviously with Milwaukee, so he's got that connection to David Stearns. David Stearns, I think, drafted him and oversaw his development. So I could very easily see him wanting to, reunite there if they have a good relationship, right? So once again, if you've been sleeping under a rock for the last couple of years, Corbin Burns, shocking, pretty good pitcher, right? Not pretty good quarterback. Jeremy knows that one. Um, that's right. So Jeremy, I guess give me. I haven't asked Jeremy this yet, folks. So Jeremy may hate me. Jeremy, give me one pitcher or one hitter that you want to see the Yankees sign, or you think would be a good fit for the Yankees, and maybe I'll give you one pitcher and one hitter that I think would be a good fit for the Mets. It could be via trade.
so one or the other, a
You
hitter
can
or
give me both if you want, Jeremy. Don't go
both.
crazy though. Don't give me two. Give me
All
one.
right, I'll just give you one. I would say, which I heard on the fan the last few days, I would say I want Ryan McMahon. If he is in play, I'd be like, let's go hard and get him at first base and bring another solid first baseman and a really good hitter. I mean, even with the really not a good team at all with the Rockies, I think he had almost 30 home runs, or he had like 25 home runs. There were some youngsters on that lineup who were really good, but I would love to have Ryan McMahon. In the Yankees. So that's my one hitter that I'd love to have in the Yankees lineup.
Okay. Okay.
If
If
you
it's
know.
me, right, and I'm looking for someone, right? Okay, yeah. So Ryan McMahon, I think would be a great fit for the Yankees. For the Mets, couple options here, right? Obviously, I'd love the polar bear. I think Bregman would be a great option for the Mets, right? Put him at third base. I think he could do really well there. It just depends on what the AAV ends up being. I think you could put, obviously Sasaki. These are all the big names, right? Something that I've seen, and who knows how true this is. The Mariners allegedly are shopping Luis Castillo, the pitcher, right? He's under contract through 2028, if I'm not mistaken. And then he becomes an unrestricted free agent for 2029. I believe might be an option in 2028 to bring him back, if I'm not mistaken. His average annual value is going to be just over 24 million, which for a pitcher of Luis Castillo's scope is a really good deal, if you ask me, Jeremy. I mean, we saw Luis Severino go to the A's and
Right.
get what, basically 30 or 20 something million a year, right? And
Yeah.
Luis Castillo,
3 years, 60 million.
yeah, no slight at Sevy. Sevy, love you. But Jeremy, I think Luis Castillo is a better pitcher than Luis Severino is.
Maybe a little
And to
better.
only have to pay him 4 million more per year. I mean, I'm just saying. Um, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. You know what
Right,
I'm saying,
maybe
Jeremy?
that's a good point though, Alex. Yeah, I mean, bringing Luis Castillo is definitely going to add some value to that pitching staff. Already pretty good pitching staff, to be honest with you. Now that I think about it, with Senga, got maybe Clay Holmes being a starter. They have, what do they have a lefty? Well, Sean Manaea still has not been signed yet, correct? He's still a free agent, but
Sean Manaea is still a free agent, and that's another one who I think would be a good reunion with the Mets. I,
yeah,
I, I
I think
think
that would make sense.
yes. Sorry, I'm trying to find. There's a way to do this, here we go. Compare players. Here we go. Okay, so we want to go. Yeah. And then, what's that head? Oh no, never mind. I don't pay for StatHead, so I can't find this. But I do believe that whether it's Luis Castillo, whether it's Sean Manaea, whether it's Roki Sasaki, whether it's Corbin Burns, I do think two of those pitchers will be on the Mets by the end of this offseason. Um, Perhaps I'm wrong. Um, Maybe the asking price for Castillo is ridiculous when they're asking for, you know, Mauricio and Brett Beatty and Ronald Acuna, right? Or sorry,
Right, Luis Acuna,
Luis
brother.
Angel Acuna. Sorry,
Yeah,
mistake, right? Um, Perhaps that's what we're looking at. And if that's me, I would you got to walk away from that, right? You don't take that, but. I do think Luis Castillo would be a great fit for the Mets. If you're looking for a batter, like I said, Bregman would be cool. Alonso would be cool.
yeah. Bregman's a solid third baseman. I mean, he's pretty much error free. I don't see him commit too many errors. So,
You know, and if you were to bring him and Alonso in, which let's be honest, Cohen has the ability to do that if he wants to,
right,
right?
yeah, wealthiest owner in baseball.
Then all of a sudden you don't have to worry about Mark Vientos playing the field anymore, and he becomes your DH.
Right, that's not so
Which
bad.
I think that's probably a really good thing, to be honest with you. Because his defense better last year than expected, not great, right? There's also been rumors of Nolan Arenado supposedly wanting to go to the Mets, not wanting to go to the Yankees, but wanting to go to a contender. So that to me is interesting, Jeremy, in that I'm wondering like, does the rest of the MLB, how is the rest of the MLB viewing the Yankees? Right? How are the players viewing the Yankees? Because if they're saying they want to go to a contender, the Yankees have been contenders for as long as you and I have been alive,
Right,
right?
pretty much. And I even heard, even I think it was me on First Take, they were saying, I guess the Yankees are still the team to be in the American League. I mean, there is Cleveland, there's the Houston Astros. You can never sleep on them, and then there's maybe the Detroit Tigers. I wouldn't be surprised if the Tigers are in the mix. They had a great last couple months of their season. They have a really good nucleus of players, but they were saying that they think the Yankees are the team to be in the AL. I'm still humble about the Yankees and saying that they still need to make improvements. They got to obviously get off to the start they had last year, but we want to see more consistent play and hopefully, especially when it comes to October, because that's the most important. We got to see those main guys come in the clutch.
Correct. And Jared, remember we talked about this a couple of weeks ago where we said, we're gonna check to see how many times you and I have done this off air before. How many times have the Mets made the playoffs in both of our lives
Right.
versus the Yankees, right?
What is it
Well,
about eight?
Yankees missed. So the Yankees have missed it five total times in our life, right?
Okay,
Whereas the Mets have made the playoffs.
I'm gonna say eight. Can I guess eight? And then
Yeah, the answer is seven. Um,
seven. All right.
they made it in '99 when they lost in the NL Championship Series. They lost in the World Series in 2000. They lost in the NL Championship Series in '06. Lost in the World Series in 15. Lost in the NL Wild Card round in 16. Lost in the Wild Card round in 22. Lost in the NLCS, obviously this past year. Whereas the Yankees have only missed it five times since Jeremy was born, which there was no postseason in 1994 because of the strike. But the first time the Yankees missed the playoffs in Jeremy's entire life and mine was in 2008. They missed
Yeah,
it in
I remember.
consecutive years in 13 and 14. Then they went back in 15, lost in the wild card round. They missed the playoffs again in 2016, And then they missed the playoffs last year or 2 years ago now, 2 seasons ago now in 2023. Jeremy, once again, when I'm looking at a player that's trying to go to a team that's a perennial winner, why won't you waive your no trade clause for the Yankees? I mean, supposedly there was a trade deal in place for the Astros. Astros have been really good recently, but he wouldn't waive his no trade clause for Houston either. So I think when you look at these players who are good, Nolan Arenado has been great his entire career, right? I think fringe Hall of Famer probably, right?
Yeah, I'd say that. That's fine.
10-time Gold Glove winner, right? He's saying, I'd go to New York, but I'm only going to Queens.
Only
I mean,
going.
look, if I'm a Mets fan, which I am, I'm going, why are we saying we're going to go to Queens, right? Because the Yankees have
Because
been, yeah.
no, let's say because Cohen's got the bigger pocket.
He's got the bigger, okay, sure, he got the bigger pocket, but that doesn't really matter right now, right? He's saying he wants to go to a winner. He listed the Phillies. He listed Boston. Boston hasn't been big spenders, right?
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't. Yeah, that's
He's got the
true.
Mets. He's got, I think, the Padres, the Dodgers, and one other team on there. But the Yankees are not that other team,
Yeah.
right? So the Yankees aren't seen as contenders, which I think. By the way, any Mets fan that's out there saying the Yankees are not contenders, you're crazy. All right.
As much as you'd like them not to be.
As much as I would relish in the idea of Yankees fans being upset about things. They're not. Right? The Yankees are contenders. The Mets are not. Or sorry, not the Mets are not. The Mets are, but the Mets, for the most part of our lives, have not been. Right?
Yeah, it's been
I mean,
disappointing.
7 times in almost 30 years for me. Right? 7 times in 30 years. Now, obviously, we'll see next year if it becomes 8 times in 30 years. 7 times in 29 years versus 5 misses in 30 years. I mean, that's 1 out of every 6 for you. For me, it's like we're lucky if we get the playoffs. Typically, it's just under 1 out of every 6 years, right?
Right. Yeah, it's a big difference. I mean, yeah, I've been spoiled with the Yankees going to the playoffs every year, every other year. So
Yeah.
definitely
Obviously, yeah,
painful.
and obviously you'd like them to win it. You'd love for them to win it. Hopefully, for your sake, they do. I will not be upset if they never do. I'm just going to put that out there, Jeremy, because Yankee fans have
Right.
been my entire life.
Yeah.
But I believe that's going to be about a podcast for us, folks. We'll be back in your ears probably on Tuesday morning, perhaps Monday evening. We'll record Monday. Cover some of the college football playoff. Talk about how disappointing our Giants have been again. Maybe touch on the Jets if something else comes out about Woody Johnson saying that because of NCAA 24, he wants to draft some no-name linebacker out of Northern Illinois University with their first-round draft pick because he's got a good tackle rating on NCAA. Until then, folks, thank you for tuning in. My name is Alex. That's Jeremy. This is the Shrubway series. We'll be back with you quite soon.
Stay tuned.
That's right. Back after this.